Hi. Hola.
Hi, hier ist Mr. Döse.
This is Michael Bradley.
Hey, I'm Memphis.
Hey.
Hola. Hello.
I'm here with soccer.com.
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 And I'm talking with my friends soccer.com.
See you soon.
Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my first impressions plus on-feet video of the brand new Adidas Ace 17.1 Primeknit in the red limit pack colorway. Now, along with the shoes inside the box, they do include a string bag. It's a black perforated mesh material with the Adidas and Ace logos there in white on the front. And of course, you get the shoes themselves, which I have right here. A huge change coming from the previous model, the Ace 16.1 Primeknit, and a variation of some of which you can get from the actual Pure Control, but of course, with laces as opposed to being a laceless design. So of course, in today's video, we're gonna go over all the details as far as tech specs and performance go. We're gonna take a look at the weight of the shoe, as well as take a look at how these things fit and feel on feet. So if you are interested in learning more about the Ace 17.1 Primeknit, please stick around, watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, there'll be a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the very first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $200 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, a little pop-up on screen, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's talk tech specs. So the first notable thing about the Ace 17.1 Primeknit as a top-end model in the new Ace lineup is the fact that it isn't laceless. You do have a lacing system running through the middle of the shoe, but you maintain a very similar upper to certain variations of the Pure Control. So the Ace 17 Plus Pure Control I have right here. It features an all Primeknit upper with Primeknit across the top, and of course a laceless system. Some of you guys may have seen my video where I talk about the different upper variations of the Pure Control, the version that you can buy and the version that some professional players are wearing. I'll leave a little pop-up on screen to that video where I explain everything, but this is essentially the variation of the Pure Control upper that some of the pros are wearing, but with laces and other changes along with that. So that's kind of the starting point for how I'm going to explain this. There is Primeknit on the Ace 17.1 Primeknit. It's in the name. And the Primeknit aspect of the upper is the black toe. So basically, from the forefoot forward, this is a Primeknit material as the base. So you have an interesting pattern, as you can see, very similar to what you're going to find on the actual Pure Control. It's thin, it's soft, it's flexible. It does have that sock-like sensation to it. There's an internal liner as well. And as far as the thickness that it provides, or the thickness that it has on the ball, it's not too thick, it's not too thin, but it does maintain somewhat of a padded sensation to it. And then from this seam back, you're going to find their control skin material, which is this elasticated stuff. It does run across the top of the foot as well as around the collar area, although all the parts that are covered in polyurethane, which are pretty clearly marked, don't have the same stretch to it as this area. So for the majority of the upper, it is structured. There's not a lot of it that's left without any structure at all, and the seam runs through the middle with some fuse over top. So you don't have too much stretch through the middle of the upper itself. What's distinctly missing in comparison to the Pure Control models, whatever upper variation you're referring to, is the internal tech fit system. So you don't have that extra piece of material internally made out of a synthetic material holding your foot in place. Instead of that, you actually have a lacing system, which I'll say right off the bat is so much more effective in terms of locking your foot in place in comparison to any of the laceless Pure Control variations. This is a lot more solid on your foot. It keeps your foot a lot more locked down, and just the overall quality of the fit, I think, is a lot better than the laceless model. Similar sentiments that I had when comparing the Ace 16.1 Primeknit and the Ace 16 Plus Pure Control. The laces pretty much solve all the problems that you got from the laceless variation, but of course while still maintaining a very similar style and structure to the upper itself. So as far as the actual upper itself is concerned, you get the Primeknit at the front, the control skin towards the back, which is on the thinner side, but again, you do have reinforcement layers internally with synthetic lining materials and stuff like that, so it's not overly thin. The shoe itself does have a pretty uniform, slightly padded sensation feel across the entire foot, but it doesn't come across as overly bulky whatsoever. You do not have the same kind of structured aspect to the sidewall here where the Adidas stripes are positioned on this particular model, like you'll find on a Pure Control. That's just because it isn't necessary because of the laces themselves. And of course, you do maintain the non-stop grip dots across the entire upper, acting as your wet control element that, again, I really wouldn't play too much into in regards to how that does impact performance. The laces, though, it runs through the middle. You can see they've implemented somewhat of a two lace hole system in certain positions on the shoe, somewhat similar to what we've seen from Nike with their one-piece uppers, but at the same time a little bit different. So you can see that the bottom, I guess, 3 lace positions use this dual lace hole system, and then the top 2 have these little lace loops which are made out of like a nylon strap. It doesn't run all the way through. It's very similar to what you're going to find on the X16.1, where the nylon loop is simply right here, and it's just there to attach the laces to the actual shoe itself. And you can see it doesn't end right at the top just because it does extend it a little bit higher, but I think it goes far enough up to where you are getting decent lockdown when you do pull the laces tight. Of course, that kind of flows into this Pure Cut collar system. It's technically not called Prime Cut because this isn't made from Primeknit, so they call it Pure Cut, but essentially the exact same kind of mid-cut aspect that you will find on the actual Pure Control. You can see them side by side. Very similar in height. This might be a little bit taller, but nonetheless, it's not something that has a huge impact on the overall fit and feel of the shoe. Something I'll talk about a little bit later in the video. It's just extension pieces that are fully elasticated, so there's no ankle support from this. It doesn't really have any structure to it. It's there more so for looks. It doesn't necessarily need to be cut that high, but they did it, again, for aesthetic reasons. Internally, you're gonna find a smooth synthetic leather, synthetic suede liner, with a decent amount of padding back there. Internally, there is a removable insole. I'll give you guys a quick look at that. It features a synthetic suede liner on top, some perforations throughout, and it's just a single layer of this black foam, very similar to the previous generation of Ace shoes. And then, of course, you get the lace loop on the back, the sprint frame outsole, but what's distinctly missing in comparison to the Pure Control model is the Boost foam, which, if you guys saw my video on the Ace 17 Plus Pure Control, you know that the Boost foam on the base of the sole as well as in the insole itself, while it is, I guess, a feature that you would expect to be pretty significant in terms of underfoot cushioning, it honestly doesn't feel any different from a regular kind of insole sole plate setup. So as far as whether or not you're missing out on that particular feature with the Ace 17 Primeknit, I would say no. It feels pretty much identical to me. If anything, this is a little bit more low profile and a little bit more flexible. And because there's just less layers of material, it's going to be a little bit lighter as well. So I really don't think you're missing out on anything. And really, if anything at all, I think that the implementation of Boost, while it's a good idea on this shoe, doesn't really change the overall experience of the shoe itself very much at all. It's more of a gimmicky feature than anything, given the way that they implement it. I think there is definitely a possibility for Boost being a pretty good implementation on a pair of soccer shoes, but this first time that they did it on the Pure Control, it just doesn't make that big of an impact on the overall experience. So again, not really missing out on anything with the 17.1 Primeknit not having that Boost foam. So other than that, it's pretty much the new sprint frame setup for the Ace 17 line. You get the external heel counter, the exact same stud pattern, the stiffener bar running through the middle. This is an FG-AG stud pattern, same layout that we saw from the previous generation. All conical studs. It does perform quite well on firm natural grass, and it works okay on artificial grass too, although I would say that this is definitely more of a true FG stud pattern than a true AG stud pattern. Nonetheless, it does get the job done on both plain surfaces, and I really didn't have any issues with it. So if you wore the previous generation of Ace models, you kind of know what to expect from this particular stud pattern. So as a whole, it's a big change up coming from the 16.1 Primeknit model. This is, like I said, a lot more like what you're going to find from the Pure Control in terms of the actual base structure for the upper, but adding the laces running through the middle of the shoe makes a tremendous difference in terms of how the shoe wraps your foot just more closely in general, and the quality of the fit in general, not to mention just better comfort because of that better lockdown. So we'll talk about that a little bit later in the on-feet portion of the video, but as a whole, I'm pretty impressed with what they've done here with the Ace 17.1 Primeknit. In my opinion, the better variation of the top-end mid-cut models in the Ace 17 line. As far as weight is concerned, I thought we'd compare the Ace 17.1 Primeknit to the 17 Plus Pure Control to see if there's any significant weight difference between the two. So keep in mind that these are both in brand new condition, both the exact same size 9 US as well. It's a very fair comparison. We're going to weigh them in real time using this scale. Start off with the Pure Control, and you can see that they weigh in at 8.65 ounces, the equivalent of 245 grams. Remember those numbers. Change the scale back to ounces, pull these off, and we'll throw on the Ace 17.1 Primeknit, and you can see that they weigh in at 7.4 ounces, the equivalent of 209 grams. You're talking about a weight difference of about 1.2, 1.3 ounces, with the 17.1 Primeknit being the lighter of the two models by what I would say is a significant amount. They do immediately feel lighter in hand and on feet. Not only do I think it's a better fitting shoe, because of the lacing system, it allows them to eliminate a lot of excess structure and material on the inside of the upper that you will have on the Pure Control. So not only does this shoe fit better, not only is it better lockdown, better responsiveness, I also think it's a lot less bulky in terms of the touch and feel that it provides on the ball. So overall, I think you're gaining a lot by adding laces to this particular style of upper versus the laceless system, which, while it does work, I think at this point in time it is still a little bit gimmicky and doesn't necessarily equal out to any kind of benefits at all over a very similarly styled shoe that has laces that, like I said, I think just makes for a much better playing experience in general from a performance standpoint at least. Aesthetically, I think that the Ace 17.1 Primeknit is actually a pretty good looking shoe. It has the same general look as the Pure Control. The Adidas stripes are a little bit different just because it's not incorporated into that kind of plastic side structure. Instead, they're kind of just standalone stripes that are white in color as opposed to that kind of metallic silver chrome. But everything else is pretty well the same. You get the black toe with the red for the majority of the rest of the upper. The combination of the black, red, and white I think is really good. Kind of classic Adidas, which a lot of you guys have mentioned down below in the comment section. You get the Adidas logo there on the front of the shoe, the Adidas branding here on the back loop. And then of course the sprint frame is black and red as well, with the fade running through the middle. And because this isn't the Pure Control, it doesn't actually have a wearable finish on the surface. So the way it looks right now is the look that will be maintained throughout the entire lifespan of the shoe. So overall, I actually think this looks pretty cool. I think the Pure Control is a pretty interesting looking shoe as well. But if we're talking pure aesthetics, I do think that this does look a little bit better. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Do you like how these look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the on-feet portion of the video so we can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit and of course what the sizing is like. Alright, so here is a look at the Ace 17.1 Primeknits on feet. On my left foot I have the stock red laces that come with the shoes, and on my right foot I have a pair of black reflective SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. You find a little pop-up on screen, or it'll also be linked down below in the description of this video. So if you're interested in a pair, be sure to go ahead and check that out. Now in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, they fit extremely well. I'm actually very surprised at how well these things actually fit. Comfort-wise, very good out of the box. There is some stiffness through the midfoot just from the material itself, mainly the synthetic liner, but that's something that I suspect will get a lot softer as you break them in. But like I said, the quality of the foot, the fit, and just the way the shoe wraps your foot in general, once you pull the laces tight, is very, very good. Like I talked about earlier in the video, this is essentially a variation of the upper that you see some pros wearing on their versions of the Pure Control, as well as what you're going to find on the Tango variation of the Pure Control. But with the addition of a lacing system, the way that this shoe wraps your foot, the way that the upper wraps your foot, is so much better. The laceless system, while it works, it does have its flaws in that you can't adjust it. You can't make it tighter, you can't make it looser, you can't adjust it by section. It just fits on your foot the way it's going to fit, and that's about it. With this shoe, because of the lacing system, you get that customized fit. You can get the tightness that you want in all the parts of the foot where the lacing system runs. And again, it just has this nice, secure, locked-in, responsive sensation that I honestly was not expecting from this particular upper, given how it feels in a laceless variation. So overall, really, really impressed. No heel slippage, no slippage whatsoever internally inside the shoe. The mid-cut aspect feels pretty straightforward. It doesn't really have that mid-cut kind of quirkiness to the fit in the heel, so pretty comfortable out of the box. The only real kind of point on this shoe that I guess feels a little bit not so great in terms of just the upper itself is the transition point between the Primeknit and this control skin material, but that's something that will go away as you wear them in. It's nothing that I would say is kind of overbearing or concerning based on the shoes being brand new out of the box. As far as width is concerned, it does have a tighter fit overall once you pull the laces tight. So not super wide by any means, not the best option if you have really wide feet, but I think they will be suitable for most people. I'm not really gonna expect them to stretch all that much either, so keep that in mind. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair of these for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. All right, guys, that is it for my first impressions of the Adidas A17.1 Primeknit. Expect to see more content on this shoe as well as the rest of the new A17 lineup in the near future on my channel. If you have any questions regarding this particular shoe, leave them down below in the comments and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you're interested in a pair for yourself, first link down below. On that page, you will find Buy It Now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $200 retail price. If you found today's video helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.